rough ride, 1-3 from there, up against Raymond on the bottom at Is It Prowess. So this is Tyler just saying, hey, I want this tournament to not derail anymore. And of note, record disparity here. So 11-3 for Tyler, has the highest breakers of the X and 3s. And Raymond, 12-2, a lock if he wins the winner in. Tyler has to win and then hope the breakers are good. But when you start 10-0, hard to believe they're not going to be good breakers. So pretty much a true winning in here as well, Jim.
Yeah, for us, we're trying to figure it out. For Tyler, those thoughts can't be in your head.
Doesn't matter.
You got to sit down and play your match. You know, and when they're playing for 9th or 8th, you know, your goal is to be in a spot to get 9th or 8th.
Yeah.
You do it by winning and not thinking about the possible outliers.
All right, here is the best 2-drop in the format, and your opponent has a Corey Steel Cutter here.
Yak.
I love me some otters, okay? I missed my precious Team Marauder deck. We haven't seen a lot of it. Big fan. All right, so Raymond untapping here with the Corey Steel Cutter. Ready to get it going. And who do you like in this matchup? You know, I know Tyler has played against Is It quite a bit. Maybe Raymond hasn't played against as much as Aureus Omniscience, but who do you think's favored? I
mean, we saw Tyler dismantle Is It before, you know, and Tyler's deck seems really well lined up in the matchup. On Raymond's side, there are no main deck Spell Pierces, you know, and we see a 2-2 split of Drake Hatcher and Slick Shot show off. Those are big, pretty counts against Raymond. So game one's going to be tough. Post-board, we see Spell Pierces stuff coming in, but for now, it's a pure race on Raymond's side. There is very little interaction for Tyler's combo. So it's just get on the board, go as fast as possible, which is not really happening here. Got the cutter down, but no other pressure.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely need Spell 2 here for sure. And, you know, you can have those turn 4 wins off relatively not fantastic starts. You know, I mean, if you ever want to have anything faster, I'm not even sure if a turn 3 win is possible with this deck, but they all would include Swift Spear to start.
Yeah, and honestly, also Slick Shot.
Yeah.
You know, Slick Shot.
Yeah, almost assuredly.
Slick Shot is the real damage dealer of this deck. So with only 2 copies, a lot of weight on those.
All right, 2 damage coming in, and only 2 lands from Raymond. Sainz, do we have land 3? We do.
Yeah, looking pretty good for Tyler here. You know, and Tyler's deck's got all the tools, the 4 lockdowns, and then, of course, you know, the threading and the combo in game 1. Combo decks are built for game 1s.
Yeah.
You know, where until you're ready to have the proper tools to beat me, I got to get free reign.
Yeah.
I just do my thing, and as long as my deck can do it consistently, which this deck obviously can, it's a good place to be.
Yep, absolutely. Then they naturally have that dynamic where there's some solid hate cards for them, and they get a bit worse. You know, kind of Dredge-esque, that really great game 1, and then they got to fight through it. But something very different than a deck like Dredge is the kind of plan B we've seen with these Azorius Omniscience deck. They're perfectly fine.
Yeah. Very, very, very flexible.
2 mana being tapped here from Raymond. So time to do some showing off. More cutting. Corey Steel Cutter coming down. Ready to put a couple of monks into play.
A lot of pressure for these players, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just feel the moment.
Yeah, this is the same match. And of note, we know the top 3 tables drew.
Yep.
Right? You know, these players, they get removed from that area pretty quickly to be taken into this feature match area. They don't know for sure that, I mean, Tyler probably doesn't even know for sure if he's even live.
Yep.
So you just got to play your match and figure it out after that.
Yeah, so
this is a huge moment of truth. Very aptly named.
There it is.
Lockdown is phenomenal. I mean, it's not the there it is. We don't have Umbuelos, Land 4, and Omniscience, anything like that. But Lockdown alone here looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on how good Lockdown be of this board.
Yeah.
Hitting multiple cutters is very, very important. And hitting the tokens is good, too, because they're actually tokens, where, like, the fear is Flood Maw popping in and end-stepping it. And with the cutters, you need to Flood Maw, play a few more creatures, and then the cutters aren't that big. Whereas if they were naturally just in or play already, or Slick Shots or whatever else, the burst damage could be a lot more. But 10 life for Tyler, we can still see a Flood Maw being a big deal.
Yeah. And here's the Lockdown. Gets the Otter underneath as well. not a very, hugely impactful thing, but it would, of course, come back if there is the ability to bounce it.
Honestly, I think it is kind of important.
It's not bad.
I think that it's kind of weird where the lockdown, in theory, you don't want to lock down your own stuff. But because the answer to lockdown is to bounce it with a bounce spell, kind of untap and do your thing, if Tyler gets a blocker out of an exchange also, that increases the things that Raymond needs to one-shot kill.
Yeah.
So I think the blocker is actually pretty relevant. It's funny how it's almost more relevant as a blocker than a card off the ETB.
I totally agree with you. Here is into the Flood Maw. We're going to see it right away.
Wow. That's pretty scary to see this in the main phase.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, the second spell, these Corey Steelcutters do, of course, still trigger. They don't have to see the first spell or anything like that,
So Tyler hits it a Forest Dispersal.
Oh, baby.
The only interactive card that can be cast with this 1 blue mana.
Yeah.
Huge, huge measure to not die.
You also see the Omniscience, maybe another lockdown. You don't really need a second lockdown. And it sucks to have to show that information face up, but, if it means you don't interact or you do, get that information wide open.
Yep. And the thing about bouncing the lockdown in the main phase like this means that you didn't destroy it. It's just back in their hand.
Yeah.
Whereas you bounce at end step, you have a decent turn cycle to kind of untap, cast more spells, and do more stuff. This, the mana had to be spent on the Flood Maw as well. So lockdown is looming next turn. Yeah,
and just think if you can go bounce spell at end step, then opt, get 2 monks, and then untap. That's what you want to be setting up, but there's cost to that, There's definitely cost to that. Okay, that looked like no blocks. There's the dispersal. I was going to say, no blocks and no interaction. We could cast a couple of spells and win here, but man, that dispersal is looking like it's going to be a day saver.
Goodbye, Monk.
And there's some cost to that, too. If, Raymond were to have a Spell Pierce or something and you just increase prowess,
Omniscience. How about kill your creature and entomb?
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you?
That's pretty good. All off that little otter that could.
Yep.
Yeah, that otter was huge. I was joking about it with, it being a better card than Corey Steelcutter, but it played out amazing this game. And here's Omniscience. Best follow-up you can usually have is another big Omniscience. That's not the case. That was Raymond's time to cast Burst Lightning if it was there. That's just got to mean shields are down. And now it's time for Tyler to just go off. There is another stock up. There was a River Regent to get it going, and you got to think Tyler's probably got this first game.
Tyler's just rolling.
Yeah, and it was all because of that otter underneath that lockdown. It really found it all.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
And, that spot for Tyler there of Omniscience as a 1/1, the first spell not being another Omniscience. That's the one spot where if there's a Burst Lightning, Raymond can just kill Omniscience. You don't get to kill Omniscience very often with a Burst Lightning. So past the interaction point, Tyler takes it down.
Absolutely impressive stuff there from Tyler. Able to get that going. And let's take a look at the sideboard. And for anyone who was kind of thinking, why did the game just end there? Tyler revealed 2 dragons. And when you have a rolling Dragon Storm in play, you actually can draw your whole deck.
Yeah, you just let me play one dragon, bouncing a Dragon Storm and the other dragon. The dragons bounce each other and the Dragon Storm. Eventually you'll find it. It's funny, actually. The Saga was in the graveyard.
But it doesn't matter, right? Because you can Abuelos it back?
Correct. So it was the mill off of a Surveil, but you can just Abuelos it back, put it back in play, and then the loop will continue with the mill 4 every time, and that's that.
Love it. Love it. Okay, what are we doing here from Raymond Saints side?
Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
Spell Pierce, and more Spell Pierce, honestly. There really isn't much interaction in Raymond's deck in game 1. The Omniscience deck can often navigate to a spot where one Burst Lightning is not enough, either by having a counter spell or a second Omniscience in hand. But now that the interaction points are here with Spell Pierce, it's going to be very, very important. We got Spell Pierce, Ghost Vacuum, Flood Maws, an extra Flood Maw for the lockdown, which is good too, and then Negate. one counter spell to go along, hard counter to go along with the two spell pierces, which is good. And there's one slick shot show up in the board. Kind of weird to see like a main decky card in the board, but that is the threat you want in this matchup. You want to kill, and you want to kill fast. So spell pierce, counter spells, negate, slick shot show off into the flood maw, one ghost vacuum, and then just try and keep a very, very powerful fast hand with one piece of interaction.
And then from Tyler Stechman's side, we have kind of been seeing it all day as Tyler's been on our feature match area for many, many rounds. We've seen him sideboard in kind of a variety of ways. Sometimes we see the creatures. He might be bringing them in every single match, but, we're still not 100% sure how he's sideboarding. You got any inclination of the stuff that you're bringing in?
So we've seen a lot of two ghost vacuums. Only seeing one here makes the Clarion Conquerors look a little less exciting.
Yeah.
They're there to turn off the ghost vacuum. I think Voice of Victory is pretty good. Voice of Victory, turning off the counter spells and that interaction point, as well as Orb Burst Lightning on the 1/1. It's funny. This sideboard here it's art. It's not science. You think about a sideboard guide. In this matchup, what do? Tyler can do anything. And I can make an argument for it being right. It can be change almost nothing. It can be board in the hole, all creatures.
Yeah.
And anywhere in between. This is an art based on your opponent's deck list, how they're playing, what your feel is in the match. But gonna want to make sure that the counter spells are not really an issue. So try and get voices in. Change the equation looks very nice here also as a way to defend against the red spells that are obviously coming in. Can defend against a thing like Ghost Vacuum or Negate. So realistically, a little bit of hate to fight the hate. And then season to taste.
Okay. I absolutely love it. And kind of a little update here as I'm going to be looking over these numbers a bit. But first, Jim, tell us exactly, if you want to get rid of a deck and buy something new, what are you going to do?
Hop on over to Sell Your Cards. That's StarCityGames.com. Or just walk right over to the Star City booth if you're at one of the events. And you can sell your cards, which is a great thing to do. We typically have too many Magic cards. Oh,
yeah.
I try to avoid the clutter when I can. And the best thing you can do also is to get store credit rather than cash. So cash is great too. Cash is king, right? You got to pay your rent. But if you're planning on buying some more Magic cards in the future, you can get 30% bonus on your cards when selling them at StarCityGames.com. You put it right in your StarCityGames.com wallet, and the next time you show up for an event or order online, you can use that credit and feel really good. You save some money.
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, head on over. Get rid of some of your cards, sell them to SCG. One other kind of update from the standings here. Looking at tiebreakers from Tyler here at 68%. Amber Thurlow, who is also at 11-3, has 67%, so less than a percent different. Anyone makes it in. If Raymond did not win this one, probably be one of those, but it's not even clear cut that if Tyler wins, that he's locked in.
For sure.
Yeah. Getting into the game here, Raymond starting it off with the Otter here with the talent. Tyler goes just a coast and past. And what's the ideal play here for Raymond? Is it just Slick Shot, or are you trying to just get Slick Shot going, or is it...
Slick Shot's pretty nice.
Okay.
Swifter's fine too, though, honestly. You really just want to get as much power on the board as possible,
Yeah.
And then if... It's a real squeeze because against a control deck, you would pace yourself, right? You would try to play into lockdown. You would try and kind of like, okay, I can play one creature here, wait till next turn, think about the post-lockdown world. But against a combo deck, they're putting a lot of pressure on you, to really kill them fast. And with the Flood Maws available also, and then Spell Pierce available also, jamming here is very preferred.
Makes sense. And I thought that looked like a few amount of cards. Raymond with a mull to 5 on the play. Tyler did take a mulligan to 6 as well, but oof, not where you want. But hey, if Raymond's gonna mulligan, this is the start you need to have if you've mulled to 5. You need to really make sure your 1, 2, 3 is good, and the 1 and 2, pretty good so far.
For sure. Yeah, I think that another forward progress turn here with some point of interaction. Ghost Vacuum, Spell Pierce, just some way to interact and deal with what Tyler's doing while keeping that pressure on.
Yep, absolutely. All right, tapping of the Verge, starting it up. Hey, the fact that Raymond is thinking about this means that he at least has options, so you feel decent about it. Monstrous Rage on the Otter. That's a total of 7 damage coming in. Let's see if we can add some more. Looks like Raymond might be down to exactly 1 card left, though. So even another monstrous rage is +5. It's only 12 damage, so wouldn't be enough as it stands.
Body language on Raymond here, a lot of stress.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't tell if it's acting. Maybe the Spell Pierce is all rolled up.
Yeah.
Or into the Flood Maw, but he was ready for it.
He was ready for it, and there is the sweet little synergy of that being a dragon. Does get to bounce the rolling Dragon Storm. That's what we call a combo.
Yep. So Raymond was ready to scoop him up to a lockdown there, and that's a bit of a tell too. Where that sort of says I don't have Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
And it's easy to be nervous in the spot, kind of wear your emotions on your sleeve, but that's a lot of info to give Tyler.
Yeah, and that looks like a stock up here. Definitely what you want when you mulled to 5. Land another spell would be solid, or of course, you can just stock up, leave yourself with 3 cards, and kind of say go. But the problem is if you don't play another spell here, you don't have an attack.
Yeah, and it's funny how these creatures have really mucked that up.
Yeah.
Where it's like the creatures are not here to block. Clarion Conqueror is not here to be a defensive blocker.
Yep.
But it does block.
Yeah.
It's not that badly sized, so it's here to turn off Ghost Vacuum and stuff. But, being able to block, it can stop turns like this. It also blocks Slick Shot Show Off, even with the Monstrous Rage on it.
Yeah.
That 3rd point of toughness, not relevant against the Clarion Conqueror. So it's kind of silly, but 3/3 flyer for 3, pretty good.
Pretty good. Plays the island, and this is either a nice bluff or you got the opt. And here's the thing. If Raymond doesn't have the opt, I still think this is a good attack.
This is tough because the Conqueror can block the Otter.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
No, yeah, it has the roll.
Lots of roll, my bad.
So, yeah, it can block the Swift Spear, though.
Yeah, so there's no safe block for trades, what I'm trying to get at. So if the Otter was a 2/2, even an op would still make it a clean trade. But there are no clean trades here.
Oh, man, I would have loved to see Raymond just bin that Swift Spear, just because it would have been an awesome bluff we don't see very often. Was not the case. The opt was there, and you get that nice hit in for 4, and now it's the big turn. Tyler, now do you have a lockdown? If not, Tyler might be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, 5 is not very much life. So
no.
Things worked out pretty well here.
2 mana's not 3.
All right.
Rolling Dragon Storm. If Raymond gets to shuffle up and play a game 3, he's got to feel ecstatic after you mull to 5.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw his body language, too. He was ready to scoop the cards up, put them under a lockdown, and, be happy with an X3 finish, probably going to the Pro Tour, but battle on. It's not over yet.
Yep. Absolutely. And, the one thing, sometimes when you lose and you're the X3, maybe you have a chance to make it. Raymond's tiebreakers are not it, to say the least. 57%, so this is a lose and either player is out for sure. All right, so let's see what our follow-up is. Can we even have anything that will really help us out here?
Dispersal would keep Tyler alive.
Yep.
I think Barry got a pretty insane 5-spell turn or whatever.
Yep.
But it's not looking too good. If there was an omniscience in the graveyard or something like that, something to build towards. But Tyler still has a lot of work to do on the actually assembling the combo front.
Yep, absolutely. So deciding what to discard here. Discards the moment of truth. And let's see.
This is the moment of truth.
This really is. All right, so 3 mana. Looks like we're stocking it up once again.
Yeah, I mean, if we could see Spell and Spell Pierce here, that would push through a Dispersal.
Yep.
That would be the ideal scenario, but probably not necessary.
I mean, as it stands, this is a lethal attack coming in, and Tyler has to have the Dispersal. Or I don't know if we have any Elspeth Smite, anything like that. But looks like you would have to have the card. Or we're kind of all done here. Big turn.
So tense.
Okay, here comes a lethal attack. And I think Tyler just said I'm dead.
All right.
Wow, okay. Woo. Game number 3 between these two players. Kind of for the world. Oof, oof. All right, so before we get into it, let's take a look at the sale one more time that we got going on. This is our flash sale here for any standard legal singles. So if you want to pick up some of these sweet cards to get yourself ready for Hartford, make sure to go to StarCityGames.com. 10% off all of these. This will end Monday, so make sure to get those orders in today. You'll get that little infusion here of some extra cash here. Pick up some cards. One of those cards probably is not going to make standard, though.
Listen. Zer's a pretty fun card, all right? I know it's kind of a commander card. It's kind of a client, but some folks might want to show up with the card in Hartford and have a good time.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Might not be the 5/7 after all. All right, players are getting it going. Let's see if we have any mulligans this time around. That's a lot of cards from Tyler. That looks like we have kept our hand here from Raymond as well. Surveil coming from the archive. And a pass to the turn. Raymond starting it off. Do we have a better start? Do we have a 1-drop?
Got to be a creature.
Got to be this time.
Or talent, I suppose.
Yeah, I was like, we'll settle for a talent, but nothing. Even a Spell Pierce, you don't want to use it on turn 2, even if you play a Dragonstorm,
Right. It'd be a pretty unique special scenario where you want to Spell Pierce Dragonstorm on turn 2.
Yeah.
Where you have
a second one.
like a 2-power threat, another threat as well, and then another piece of interaction.
Yeah. I mean, if you got 2 Spell Pierce, I'm probably using one. Maybe not even.
Because it's possible Tyler kept a hand that was predicated on Dragonstorm kind of fixing it.
Sure.
But that's a little more desperate than anything else.
Yeah. Slick shot show-offs have been plotted. That is not attacking. Play around, temporary lockdown, that kind of thing. Do you ever jam in this scenario? Like you just attack for one, or is it just always too risky?
It's funny. So we were in the room last night, and Dan was saying that, where he's like, I think I plot or cast Slick Shot incorrectly every time.
Yeah.
Whatever one I choose is wrong. I think folks do tend to plot it too often.
Sure.
But I'm not sure. If you attack with it there and it gets dispersal, it's pretty bad.
Feels so bad.
So it depends very much in the context of Raymond's hand.
Yeah. All right. There's the Steel Cutter. That looks like a snap Spell Pierce here for the Corey Steel Cutter.
Spell Pierce is so awesome.
So good. And, I mean, if Raymond had perfect information, if this works, how Raymond's kind of expecting here, because, Raymond's Spell Pierce is not good against Tyler's right now, then you're like, wow, I really wish I didn't plot this Slick Shot. You'd be dealing 4 more damage now instead of, just a little bit.
Absolutely. It's funny how there's synergy and anti-synergy with the Slick Shot plot and the Cutter, where you can plot and then Cutter with only 2 lands, you still get your token, but then you're not getting the prowess and vice versa. But you can't Slick Shot first because then you want to have a second spell. So they work really well together, but also kind of at odds.
Yes. Very well and horribly at the exact same time. So Slick Shot show off. We've dealt 1 damage on turn 3. Not where you want to be from the Is It Prowess side.
Ooh.
Oh, and I want to bring some attention to that. This was very Luis Scott Vargas-esque. That was when it was attacked, Tyler went straight for the pen.
Yep.
Had that interaction, so it was like, yep, how much? If that was a monstrous rage there, Tyler just got him,
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Tyler's table demeanor and just clear knowledge of his own deck.
Yep. All right, we're getting stocked up. But all that being said, there's a Slick Shot show-off that's going to have free reign next turn. I mean, 4 spells, one of them being a monstrous rage. I can't count that high.
I have only 10 fingers.
Exactly.
I mean, together
we're limited.
We have at least 20 fingers.
Okay,
right?
okay.
I haven't counted, but
we can get this math going. I think you're right.
Wait, math?
Yeah, I'm out.
All right, slow down there.
All right, there is a Verge, so that does have the ability to have a dispersal, be able to interact here a little bit.
Please talk to a judge away from your opponents if you have any questions.
19's a lot, but it is possible.
Okay. Big turn. Still no Omniscience in the yard, it doesn't look like. Starting it off at an opt. Nope.
Going to the bottom.
Okay. Slick shot up to 3. Slick shot up to 5. Sleight of hand.
Op's a little more fun from the opponent's perspective because, like, you get to know if it was top, if it liked it or not.
Yeah.
Sleight of hand, just like,
had to pick one.
Got to pick one, yeah.
All right, land 4 coming down. Here's an attack for 5.
All right.
And maybe that's a tell. Tyler said, all right, take 5. Maybe he doesn't have the interaction when he verbalizes it, but when he goes for the pen, he does have the interaction.
Corey's going in deep here.
I am going deep.
So 2 unused mana from Raymond. You know, there are counter spells available. This is the 1 negate. We already saw 1 spell pierce. Slick shot is the threat you want, but all by itself, still a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Also, if it's the 1 card, it's going to do a lot of work. That is for sure. Looks like that was just a pass. I got a glimpse of a Omniscience, a River Regent. That's all I saw for sure. So Tyler's hoping this is a very painless turn and is able to sift at end step.
This is part of the allure of the instant speed element that Tarkir brought to this deck, where if Tyler had to tap out here for some sort of card draw and discard, and Raymond knew it's free reign.
Yeah.
Just unload, you know? Cool. But with 4 mana up, it's really, really hard to start just firing off monstrous rages and whatever else it might be and going for broke.
What were you saying, Jim?
Honestly, I like this stuff because what I said is, is what I said, but that's a known thing too, where it can, if Tyler passes with 4 mana up, it looks like it wants to be a dragon.
Yeah.
And you really can't let Tyler do that.
Exactly.
So you gotta just play into it, so.
Common play against like these control decks, that memory deluge turn. You're like, I don't want you to do that, so I got to at least make you do something else. And that's the plan here. Here is a gigantic attack, 5 from the Swift Spear, 2 from the Monk. So it looks like we got 7 right now. Wait, 9. Yeah, 9 right now. Wait, maybe 10. I don't know. My brain can't math now.
I believe we're 8 on the Slick shot and
2 from the Monk. So yeah, 10 damage there. Able to take it, and here is that Sift. Raymond said no problem pretty quickly. One of the cards was a lockdown, so if Tyler has, there's the Omniscience. If we have the ability to Umbuelos, maybe with Spell Pierce, could be all done. Lockdown plus negate, also incredible here. A lot of good stuff going on, and it looks like Tyler should be at 6. Maybe forgot to hit the buttons here.
That's a pretty fast one.
Umbuelos. And no negate or anything from Raymond. Now it's going to be the Burst Lightning check.
1 window.
1 window, and it's still not a guarantee, because now you can have a counter spell.
Right.
Here is the lockdown.
The suspense.
This is so suspenseful. Heavy sigh from Raymond. Now, Lockdown doesn't clean up the Omniscience or anything. It is still maintains the mana value, even though it comes back as a 1/1 token. So Lockdown will not hit it. It'll take away Raymond's board. You'll keep around a 1/1, but most importantly, an Omniscience.
I mean, this feels like Raymond just kind of soaking it in.
Yeah.
It just...
Where did it go wrong type thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look at this, though. Tyler's at 4. Remember where I said Slick Shot could have dealt 4 more damage? If you didn't plot it, and that Corey Steel Cutter, if you had your Slick Shot out beforehand. I'm not saying these were mistakes, by any means.
I think casting a Slick Shot's totally reasonable the prior turn. Maybe.
I mean, it was a blowout to the dispersal for sure.
Right.
So there was a risk there.
Yeah.
Tyler might have had that. Games could have been completely different. But that was where 4 damage was left on the table. A whole game would have changed, though.
For sure.
Tyler couldn't have went for the Sift play. Would have had to go for something defensive. Entire game would be different. But as it stands, we might just be going through the motions and about to put Tyler into the, I can't say top 8, but into the sweat.
So, what if?
Okay.
Hear me out here.
All right.
What if Raymond has the Burst Lightning?
Okay.
And, of course, the combo kill is based on mill.
Sure.
So, Tyler mills Raymond's entire deck. Raymond untaps in the upkeep, burst lightning you. Now, we've already seen Tyler use one spell pierce. There's one spell pierce. There's one more spell pierce on the board. The refute might have gotten cut, being too clunky. Because obviously Tyler's going to also draw his whole deck.
Sure.
So if there isn't a hard counter spell in there to stop the burst lightning, it would require taking out the refute. I just think a Bounding Riddle too. All right, it's too much.
Yeah, I was going to let you finish, but even just having 2 counter spells, you're going to get 2 in your hand, you know? Like, so it doesn't seem possible to me. It would require for that plan to work.
It would require basically having not boarded in the spell pierce and having boarded out the riddle and the refute, which honestly isn't crazy. I think both refute and riddle are pretty weak cards in the matchup. They're slow and they're very, very clunky.
Sure.
So, but I think that's like a spell pierce probably would have come in. So
yeah, and I mean just the fact that if you don't burst lightning the omniscience at the one chance you had, like the amount of opportunity that could go wrong versus the chance that, like, that has worked before. I have killed an omniscience in response to a draw spell, and it has stopped the chain. I've won the next turn. That has happened. So, you know, to be able to not give yourself that chance would feel like a missed opportunity.
The problem would be that all threats are gone too.
Yeah.
So with the lockdown happening, the first spell wasn't lockdown, sure, but because it was lockdown.
Yeah.
But this is kind of just a dream scenario where it would be the coolest thing ever.
Yes.
But it's probably not going to happen.
Right now, this is the coolest thing ever for Tyler Stechman, as he's taken this deck that we have seen him put to work and just make look amazing all weekend. Been really impressed. Raymond played this match great. You know, really tried his best.
One more wrinkle in my burst lightning plan is busy.
Oh, yep.
All right.
It's always a biz, and there's the hand. Tyler Stechman advances to 12-3